Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's episode. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Here's Alday.
What is going on with focused Datacrons? Welcome back, Islanders. Welcome to another episode of What is going on. Today we're going to break down the announcement about focused Datacrons. What do I think of them? Are they really the solution? And I'm going to give some recommendations because they've now announced the 4 focused Datacrons that they're going to put in the first episode of this, or the first era. So I'm going to talk about those, which ones I would buy, which ones I maybe would look at, and who I think will probably suit different levels of accounts. So exactly what we do. This is a standard episode. So focused Datacrons. Now, TG said they'd listened to our feedback that Datacrons were too gambling mechanic-y. And yeah, they're kind of right. But what they did isn't exactly fixing the problem. What they did was they just added a whole other Datacron. So we're going to do nothing about the gamble mechanic over here. We're just going to give you another thing over here that isn't a gamble mechanic. So it's kind of like if I don't like a bookmaker's next to me, what they've done is they haven't done anything but the bookmakers, they've just opened a shop next door to it. It's just a different thing. So I think that's maybe my first problem, is that focused Datacrons, they're fixed. So when you unlock them and when they're designed by the devs, they are designed to be fixed. So all 15 levels now, because obviously they're going to cost a little bit more to upgrade. Don't see why, but they are. Those are going to be designed specifically by the devs to kind of unlock at different levels, and potentially you can stop at different levels on your way to that final character. So even though we're going to talk about the final character, because that's the focused Datacrons we've announced, we know the final character, we presume along the way they will go through maybe 2 or 3 other characters, or 2 or 3 other factions or buffs that you might choose to stop at. So look at them as sort of like they're almost like a new ability. They're like a temporary ability, I would say, rather than necessarily a Datacron. But at least they're fixed. So how do I feel about them? Well, I think they're going to add, effectively to me, they're going to be like temporary Omicrons. You know, they're sort of a very fixed power. So that's going to be good in one way, because what happens is that every time we see that Datacron, we're going to know exactly what it does. So that means all the incredible minds who talk about this game, who study games, who watch other people play, are going to very, very quickly work out the counters to them, or what they counter. So that's going to be quite good. We're going to have less of the randomness when you see Datacrons. But like I say, they're not taking away the old Datacrons, so we're still going to have the massive variety. In fact, we're just going to have other ones. So that's why maybe I look at these more as Omicrons on a team, or like a special Omicron, or a temporary Omicron. Do I like them? I guess so. I guess I'm not adverse to them. I would rather that at the same time as announcing this, they announced that they were going to remove and only go for 2 factions every season of Datacrons, rather than currently we have light side, dark, and then we have 2 factions, I think, on each. So we've effectively got 4 factions being benefited by Datacrons. I would rather that they'd, at the same time as announcing these, they'd said, right, we're just going to reduce that down to maybe 3 factions or 2 factions. We're going to make it even more kind of narrow over on that side, allowing you to then have these other ones as well. And anyway, so I'd rather they'd done that. But in principle, I think it'll be okay. It's going to mean a little bit more. You'll have to then scout what exact Datacrons. But we've had it for a long time. These are effectively, you know, these ones they've been adding in when you unlock a new marquee. You get the Datacron, like the Great Mother's Datacron, or, you know, those ones that they've been adding in recently that you get just by buying the character on day 1. So I think the principle, we're used to it, and I think it's going to be okay. We still need to see exactly the upgrade costs. I think money in Datacrons is going to start becoming a real crunch. So this is my first little tip for you. Start storing up your shipment credits. Don't necessarily convert them into Datacron money yet, because remember, you're going to go through a dusting and all that sort of thing. But I would start stocking up as much shipment credits as you got. Start trying to hoard them a little bit. Maybe don't spend them as much as you maybe would, because I think when this comes around, we might all be shocked. If it's 2 million to go from, at the moment, you go to level 9 at 2 million, we could find ourselves at like 10 million to go to level 15 of these, just only for that final stage. So start hoarding up your shipment, your ship currency, the blue currency in game. So let's talk about them in particular. They have announced in a later post, the one where they talked about all the other updates that was coming. They actually released what 4 Focus Datacrons are going to launch first. Now, Boba Fett, Cyan and Django, Dr. Aphra, Hera Syndulla, and Zalbar. I'm going to work through all 4 of these, but let me talk firstly to my Inner Rim initiates. Hi guys. I think for you, if you're new at this game, the way they've broken this down is very, very interesting. They've sort of picked 4 very different characters, and I think the one that you're looking out for in the Focus Datacron would be Hera Syndulla. I think Hera and the Phoenix team in particular are going to be one of the first teams you unlock, the first teams you're going to take up. They are useful in both TW and in GAC, and you're probably going to get them, like I say, almost immediately. They can counter some pretty high level things. So I think if you're new to this, remembering that they've also reduced these to work at gear level 5, so you don't need to be at relics for these to work. So even at gear 11, gear 12, these are going to work. So I think if you are just working through your episode and you're getting enough currency, like 10,000, I think the Hera Syndulla one is perfect for you. Let me talk about the currency in particular at this point as well. So this is using the episode currency that you get for along the bottom of your screen. You kind of do those levels, and the more you kind of do in game, specifically about having the marquees. But if you get the marquees, which, let's face it, you're probably not going to be doing that if you're new to the game. You are probably not going to be spending on the game. You're probably just enjoying the game, and you should enjoy the game without spending money on it. You should at least get somewhere near episode maybe 20. You should get somewhere in that little space. That's probably going to be enough to get about 20,000 episode currency. And yes, even without buying the pass. And if you get 20,000, you're probably going to be able to buy at least one of these, I think. And the one I would buy at your level would be Hera Syndulla. Okay. Let's move on now. Let's talk about my mid-rim masters. My mid-rim masters. So people around that 8-9 million, they're doing well in Conquest. And I think that's the important point that you might find, just to touch back on new players in the game. To upgrade these, you are going to need the same materials that you get in Conquest. So even though they've dropped down the gear requirement to gear 5 so that they work, I still don't think they're really doing enough to actually address getting materials at a younger or a lower account level. So I think people, even though you might want to engage with Hera and you might want to get the Hera 1, I think you might find it hard to get it to level 15, but time will tell on that, and we'll maybe update on that. So mid-rim masters, well, there's kind of a couple here, isn't there? So if you're in a TW focus guild, Boba Fett, Cyan and Django, this is going to probably make him a monster in TW. You will need the Omicrons on there, so this is where it starts to be kind of a, do you have Boba Fett, Cyan and Django, or do you not? If you do have them, and you do have Omicrons on them, and you really love TW, I think the Boba Fett, Cyan and Django Focus Datacron is going to be perfect for you, and it's going to give you a lot of real utility. Whether that Datacron will then give him utility back in GAC, we don't know, but essentially he's going to become a monster in TW. That's really where you're going to look to use him, I think. However, it's not what I'm going to get, because I've never bothered with Boba Fett, Cyan and Django. He's just not a character who really excites me, and he has a very narrow usability at the moment. Once you get past a certain level in the game, even having a Boba Fett, Cyan and Django in defense isn't going to last too long. So I think we'll see him get a big boost from this, but probably one for TW in that sort of mid-level, but only if you have Boba Fett, Sign of Django. And the problem with TW is if not more people in the guild do it, and there's only 1 or 2 down there, it doesn't have the effect. So you're looking for a real organised guild to say, right, everyone wants to go out and get that focused Datacron, everyone work on that, because we all have got Boba Fett, Sign of Django. Anyway, the other one, well, Dr. Aphra. Dr. Aphra is going to be so much fun in GAC, one of my favourite characters. She does have TW viability as well, but this is going to make her into an absolute monster. We're seeing her at the moment with the BT1 Datacron, and she's absolutely destroying Jabbas with it. So Dr. Aphra in particular, a tough to mod team, one that needs very careful modding, and you need to put relics on BT1 and probably relics on Dr. Aphra for her to be really good, as well as the modding. I think the Dr. Aphra Datacron is going to be a super fun one, and I think that's probably of these 4. I think Dr. Aphra will probably be one of the most popular ones out of this list. That's my mid-room masters. I certainly think I'll be buying the Dr. Aphra one, and I'll be buying the Hera one. Right. Let me talk to my outer rim legends. So we have a problem with this episode currency, don't we? We keep maxing out. The problem is that all of us already have more than 40,000 in our back pocket of this stuff. I've got 42,000, so the very second that this drops, I can immediately buy the 2 or 3 of these Datacrons that I actually want. So that's going to be a little bit of a problem, I would say, because we're going to find when this drops, everyone is able to just buy all 4 of these if they want. And the problem with the currency is it's been locked. So you've only really been buying Omicrons in there, so maybe you've been spending 10,000 every time the shop resets and getting your 5 Omicrons. I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to start stacking up my episode currency, and I'm then going to buy the focused Datacrons with the currency we've got. So it's a good problem to have, but I really think CG have got the balance of the currency to the shop refresh a little bit out in episode. And I really don't think there's a need to be buying the episode pass. You really end up, I watched one content creator, an incredible content creator, who was actually not able to redeem any more currency because he'd hit the cap. So which one do I think? Well, we talked about Dr. Aphra, we talked about Hera, we talked about Boba Fett, Sign of Django. The 4th one is Zalbar. Now, Zalbar's a strange one. It's a character that some people have, other people don't. If you're very, very late game, you've probably done Zalbar at some point as part of that mission Zalbar. But why I think they're adding this one is they've just added an Omicron to Zalbar. And they've added an Omicron specifically for 3v3. It does cover 5v5 and it's got 5v5 utility there, but in 3v3 in particular, they've added where Mission, Zalbar and Darth Revan are together in a team of 3. Now, not a lot of people used it, not a lot of people had it, but it was, I understand, very, very good. And if this focused Datacron either extends that onto 5v5 and gives it utility there, or makes it even better, I think Zalbar and Mission and Darth Revan might become one hell of a meta in 3v3. So, I think if you're late game, I think you look at the Zalbar one. And those are my predictions as to where they'll fit. But I think the thing I'm trying to say here is it's very, very interesting what they've picked here. Picking one that's probably TW, picking one in Boba Fett, picking one that's for new game, Hera Syndulla. That's not the new Hera, that's the old Hera. So picking one for new account customers, and then having a sort of GAC Dr. Aphra, does work in TW, but GAC Dr. Aphra, and having one maybe for 3v3 in Zalbar. Dr. Aphra works best in a team of 5 as well, so you have a sort of a TW 5v5, new characters, and then 3v3. I hope they continue this for future focused Datacron sets, keeping those different levels, and I'm looking forward to actually these coming into the game. It's going to be a little bit of fun, but anyway, bit of variety, always good. Anyway, that's my breakdown of focused Datacrons. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, come watch us on Twitch. Welcome to Samplies. Comment down below. Who would you want to see next? If you were a new player, what would you want to see? If you're a GAC player, if you're a TW player, who would you want to see on the next set of Focus Datacrons? Stick it down below. Everyone hit the like button. Thank you so much. And until next time, enjoy your SWGOHs.